Yo, what's good, guys? We're back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys. In today's video, I want to go over some stuff in the gameplay that I'm not loving, the community's not loving, and kind of address these topics, put them out there for SDS to see, hopefully, and just kind of give feedback for the gameplay. So before we get into it, like and subscribe. If you have not already, we're going to be making Diamond Dynasty and MLB The Show 25 content all year, so don't miss out. Be here. Also, there was a comment in the last video, got a ton of support for team reviews, so if you want to do that, email me. The email is down in the description. I need a picture of your starting lineup, picture of your starting pitchers, bullpen pitchers, as well as how many stubs you have and what players are irreplaceable, like who you are absolutely insane with, because I don't want to just overhaul everybody's lineup into the most meta lineup possible. So if you want to do that, link is down in the video description to send me that. So let's go ahead and hop into it. First issue, no tech test. Again, we get no tech test. I wouldn't say the issues have been as prevalent as last year. There's no like two-way reliever glitch for the second year in a row. So that's lovely that that's gone for good, hopefully. But there are other issues, like the servers are desyncing a lot, crossplay's pretty bad. Just not some stuff that I don't think would be there if we did have a tech test. I think also exit velos would probably be a little better if we did have a tech test, because people would have been able to give feedback on that and they could have tuned it then, instead of us kind of sitting here waiting, sitting on our hands for them to tune it now, because I think they will tune it now. It's just a matter of how long it takes them to do it. Which brings us into our next point, which is the exit velos. We've all seen it. There are just some absolutely brutal outs. I did bring receipts. Not a ton. Haven't clipped it every single time it's happened, but when I feel like it's especially egregious, or if I'm just, realizing it, then I'll clip it. Right here, Santander, 98 power. You'll see it's a hung cutter, a pitch that historically gets absolutely blasted. It's basically a perfect swing. Earlier side of good, if anything, and just middle PCI. And I do get a double tag out of it, so it is a productive out. But there's just no world where that's not a home run with Santander. We'll just kind of rattle some of these out. Which brings me to the next point, which is good outs. I think you just see way too many good outs in general, which is kind of a theme. I feel like it was like that last year, but a lot of people just didn't really realize it, either because of power scaling. That's insane that that's at 85 miles an hour. But I digress. Or whatnot, but good outs being the way they are, I feel like tracks back to last year. That brings me to another point, which we'll get to here in a second. But in general, I think what makes the good outs as bad as they are, like that's a 90 mile an hour. Like in the prior years, that would have been a home run. I'm not saying it should be a home run. It's at least a double off the wall. That's a 97 mile an hour sinker. That's barreled. I don't really care if I am just late with a guy that has 101 power. And is hitting from a handedness advantage. It's not like that's a righty that got jammed or anything like that. So that's a little bit of a crazy swing there. We got Ted Simmons here, 88 off the bat, basically middle PCI. It is a really big PCI, so you do have to take that into account, but that's earlier side of good with 75 power, some really good quirks on Ted Simmons. And that's basically the middle of the PCI. And if it was hit harder, then it probably would have been an out. Thankfully it dropped in front of the fielder, but that is a crazy swing there.
2 balls, 1 strike.
That's a good pinpoint example. And then I believe this one's pretty bad. Yeah, so that's middle with Mike Trout, and it is later side of good, but it's also at a Mickey Mouse Park, and it's going absolutely nowhere. Maybe it's the 89 power left. But these are just some of the examples I've had. I've had worse examples. I've had better examples. Just wanted to show you guys some of them. I'm sure you've experienced it for yourself if you have played the game. I'm somebody that takes that with a grain of salt, because if you watch anybody play the game, they're going to think they have better swings than they did. So I try to just clip the ones that I think are especially egregious. I think one of the issues with why we see as many good outs as we do is the RNG of hitting. I mean, you have pitchers that have a 7-mile-an-hour speed differential on the same pitch. Like, you could have a pitcher that has an outlier sinker that can top out at 99, 2 miles an hour over what it says it's supposed to, and he can bottom out at 91 before he's even tired, just because that's the normal range on a sinker. So that's insane. When you're mixing that in with inside, outside timing windows, outlier, a super high difficulty, it adds so much RNG to the game. It's honestly ridiculous. I don't know how anybody is supposed to be on that pitch all the time and be perfect. It's just not realistic. So you're going to have a lot of good goods, and those good goods are just going to be outs. So I'm somebody who enjoyed the way 22 played a lot more, enjoyed the way that 23 played a lot more. I think 24 and 25 have been a step back from a gameplay perspective in terms of just rewarding the player for their good inputs. Next piece of hitting that I don't love is down the line. It feels like it's impossible to get balls down the line. The only times you ever see like doubles down the line, sliced hits down the line, is on terrible swings. It's on like very late swings, very early swings, swings where you can tell your opponent's PCI is nowhere close to the ball. And that's my biggest issue, is like the perfects down the line are foul, the goods down the line are foul, and it's just like, that's just a part of the field that you cannot hit the ball to unless you're a bad player or you just generated a bad swing. So I think that's kind of an issue. I thought like first few days on the game that I saw a lot more of those. Maybe it was just because I was on veteran difficulty. Maybe it's more so like a difficulty thing. I'm not sure how that makes any sense, but it does. Next problem, desyncs. You see a bunch of desyncs while pitching. I don't have a clip of it here. It's only happened to me like twice, but I know a lot of guys that have played a lot more games where it's happened more to them. Basically, you throw a perfect with Pinpoint. For some reason, on the server side, it registers as not a perfect. Turns it into a very early, puts it in your opponent's ear hole. They get a free either runner or a pass ball or a million different other ways that can go badly for you. So that absolutely sucks. And then my next point is Pinpoint is still not as rewarding as it's supposed to be. We'll see here. And if this just happened in a vacuum, it would be fine. It would be acceptable. But it feels like it happens all the time. So I'm throwing an outside slurve with Gossage there, and he just misses as up and in to the par as possible. I'm pretty sure I remember this game. The very next pitch, I threw the same slurve to the next batter, and he swung right through it because it was more outside and more where I wanted it to be. And you can sit here and talk about pars all you want, but at the end of the day, it's just not as rewarding as it should be. The amount of times you try to throw like a low changeup below the zone, a curveball below the zone, just any pitch like that, and it routinely misses in the top half of the par is ridiculous. Like, it almost always contextually misses in the worst possible way. Like, if you have a huge par on a sinker and you're trying to throw it outside of the hitter, it's going to bleed over the middle as much as possible. If you try to throw it inside to a hitter, it's going to bleed over the middle as far as possible, or it's going to be so far in on their hands that they'll never even think about swinging at it. Same way with chase fastballs. If you're trying to throw fastballs above the zone, it seems like 3/4 of the time they just miss as high as possible to where your opponent's never going to swing at it. And this is all to say, if you mess up at all, if you're 1 degree off, if you're 0.01 seconds late, if you're 1% accuracy short of throwing a perfect, it seems like it just throws it down the middle most of the time. So I think that's kind of my issues with Pinpoint. I don't want to get too into it because I had the exact same issues last year. It feels like Pinpoint is as Pinpoint does, and it's just kind of been that way for the last 2 years. And there's not a ton of great ways to address that. I think most of my issues are with hitting. I think last year wasn't the best hitting game in the world. I think this year has taken even further a step back, because I mean, there was plenty of guys with 98 power early in the cycle last year. I feel like you just didn't see this. You did not see hung cutters just going nowhere. I don't think that's a Shieldwoods thing. I don't think that's a Laughing Mountain thing. I don't think it's any of that. I think that pitch goes out guaranteed last year. And that's just kind of how it is. So I wanted to address a lot of this gameplay stuff, a lot of the issues that I'm seeing with gameplay. I think we get a slight exit velo patch. It remedies the situation. It doesn't fix it. I think the hitting at its core should be tweaked. I think it kind of sucks that this is supposed to be the most competitive year, with Weekend League being a thing where you're going to be actually sweating some games against people that you know are very close in skill to you, and you're going to have to be dealing with some of this. So it sucks, but it hasn't changed the game for me. I feel like I've been the better opponent in basically every single game I've played. And I haven't lost. I lost my first game on veteran just because I was messing around, didn't have the best team in the world. And since then, I feel like I've played better than everybody I've played against. I've won every game, even if some of them are sweatier than they probably should be. It does feel a little like RNG based. Like somebody's going to get a break at some point. You're going to hit a bloop single and then have one hit at the shortstop, and they're going to muff the ground ball and run over it and not be able to throw the runner out. And then you got 2 on with no outs, and who knows what happens from there. So it does feel like there's a lot of like key points in a game where something goes somebody's way, and that basically decides the entire game. And as long as you're way better than your opponent and you're capable of outplaying them to an insane degree, you're good. Once it gets more even in skill level, that's when the RNG starts to really kick in. And it's not like DDA. I don't think it's favoring the team that's down. I don't think it's favoring the worst player in that matchup. But there is just these little key points in the game where stuff goes wrong. A diamond fielder makes an error. A line drive's hit right at Manny Ramirez in left, who should at least be able to catch the ball. And I've seen him just bat it straight into the dirt. There's just so many little key points. You hit a no PCI home run, stuff like that, that influences the game a little bit too much, in my opinion, for the most competitive we've seen. I think the competitive scene in the game will be pretty up there, like tournament-wise and stuff. Makes sense, especially with Weekend League. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I made some sense here into kind of what I think is wrong with the hitting. I wanted to make a video addressing it. I can't fix it, but if we give enough feedback, which I think they've gotten quite a bit of feedback to where I think we'll see some tuned exit velocities in the future, at least a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, if you want to be in that roster review video, go ahead and submit those, and you can probably look forward to that in the future, assuming we get enough submissions. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Till next time, peace.